everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, Lore and Fray, and the upcoming Jaw of the Dragon. So Shinji Mikami came out and started chilling for Resident Evil 4 Remake. He released a tweet praising the game, talking about how much he liked it, and how like the team at Capcom really, really managed to improve on the original, or like, you know, that was the implication, right? That was what he said in his tweet, that like the game was great and stuff like that. And a lot of people like took this tweet and ran with it, like, oh man, this game has Shinji Mikami's approval. This is the definitive version of RE4. You know, and now a couple of weeks later, nobody remembers RE4 Remake. Nobody's talking about it. It's been, like, forgotten. It's done. There's a handful of, like, fanboys hyping this up as, like, you know, a thing that came out this year. Nobody's calling it Game of the Year. Like, you know, it's, I think a year from now, essentially everyone is going to come out and admit that, yes, the original is better. Yes, the remake was unnecessary. Yes, Capcom bungled the remake. Yes, like, they completely screwed things up. Right now, all I'm seeing is, like, people being thirsty over Ashley. Like, oh, man, she's likable now. I liked Ashley to begin with. So it's always been really weird seeing people, like, you know, try and like slander the original RE4. Like back when it was a Nintendo exclusive, back when like Ashley was hitting on Ashley was a meme, back when it came to like, you know, the general just structure of RE4. Like remember when people like Angry Joe would get angry at the fact that like you couldn't move and shoot at the same time, but that's a core aspect of RE's design, right? Like that's a big part of what makes these games what they are. So I have always disrespected the critics of RE4, the haters of the iconic Nintendo GameCube classic, and seeing these people like come out and try to say like, oh, the remake is better, it's laughable. And seeing Shinji Mikami like lean into that a little bit, like trying to release a statement, trying to damage control this, that is really disgusting. This kind of goes into a trend I've been noticing a little bit when it comes to these older, washed up like game creators. You know, people like Mikami, people like Sakaguchi, the Final Fantasy guy. Kojima would be doing this, I think, if like, you know, he had better relationship with Konami. Like Iga does this to a certain extent. Like, what is with these companies? These people are still weirdly loyal to their companies, right? They still like religiously defend the brand, right? You know, Sakaguchi came out, you know, Sakaguchi, Yamatsu, and some other guy like came out in defense of Final Fantasy 15, a game that didn't. The game that they did not work on, right? You know, like people from the team like consult them when it comes to certain things, how to handle certain situations. And although like they were fired from even though Sakaguchi was fired from Square Enix because of like things they bungled, right? When it comes to like, you know, making Final Fantasy VII a PlayStation exclusive and then producing a movie, like even though that they were completely 100% at fault for that, you know, Sakaguchi is still involved with the brand to a certain extent, which you know, it's disappointing. It really is. Like these creators, these people who like made legitimately great games, you know, RE4, Final Fantasy, like these people are still very much reliant on these brands thriving and being relevant to boost their own careers. If you take away like Shinji Mikami and his like relationship to RE4, like what does he have left? You know, like are people going to remember him from God Hand? Are people going to remember him for like, you know, helming Clover or Platinum Games? No, like the thing he's always been known for is RE. So if RE like suddenly falls off like it's doing right now, Mikami suddenly has no legacy. Suddenly he has no real credibility in the industry, right? He's going to end up like Inafune. He's going to become like a washed up has-been that people laugh at, you know, the next con man, or well, you know, it won't be like the exact same situation. I have a much higher I hold Mikami in general to a much higher regard than I ever held Inafune. But like, you know, same general concept. You know, this guy who spent the past decade doing nothing but producing like terrible Resident Evil knockoffs with The Evil Within and like trying to make Microsoft relevant in Japan, you know, leaves Tango Gameworks after the failure of Hi-Fi Rush, and now he's like cozying up to Capcom. Now he's just like, oh man, I remember working on Resident Evil 4. Oh, I remember this. Search Remake was really good, really cool. Please pay attention to me. Please like support this brand. Please don't think this game is like a travesty. Like, please don't like criticize Capcom or the developers for like all the changes they made, all the things they messed up, because I like it, right? So please don't hate the remake. again, it needs to stop. Like, we really need to, like, come out and, like, stop worshiping game creators, because I think Mikami as a creator, has a very strong legacy. I think he's, very respectable. I don't like the past 10 years of his career, but, he was already older. He was already, like, entering more of a producer role. It's not unusual to see someone like that retire at his age, right? The Yakuza guy did the same thing, essentially. Well, going to another company, but you know what I mean, right? Like, it's not unusual to see this happen, right? But I do think, like, when it comes to, like, a really bad remake, like Resident Evil 4 remake, or a bad remake like Final Fantasy 7R, like, we really need to come out and just acknowledge that, like, no matter what the original creators say, the remake is still bad. Okay, like, I'm not going to budge on this. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not ever actually going to play the Resident Evil 4 remake, because I know I've seen enough of it. Like, I played the demo. I've spent some time with it. I've seen how quickly this game dropped off the radar. Like, I know that the Resident Evil 4 remake is not going to be appealing to me as a fan of the original. It has no reason to exist. I will not support it, right? It's not something that I care about. It's not something I care for. I will always stick by and stand up for the iconic original. There is no reason for this remake to exist. And regardless of what Shinji Mikami says, I have no intention of, like, ever like, considering this remake to be a good game, right? There is just no reason to ever play it. If you want to play Resident Evil 4, you can stick with the iconic, legendary, timeless original.